Hello everybody, welcome to All Sports Weekly episode 37. I am Trevor and with me this week is Grant. Hey mate.
Hey Trevor.
How you going?
Good.
Yeah?
How are you?
Good. We've really, gone big budget here, high profile guest. You should see the rider this guy's got. Champagne, blue M&Ms.
Green clinkers.
What a diva.
Well, look, I think it's well overdue that you've got me on the show. I can't believe it's the 37th episode.
You're my 37th best option.
Having the official president of your unofficial fan club.
I know.
And social media channels.
You thought I was never going to ask, I reckon.
No, well, I didn't. I thought you might have forgotten you were obligated to have me on the show.
It is true. I just thought, save you writing in your usual question for the week, I'll just get you on.
Well, look, I've been peppering you with comments on YouTube now and again, and seeing that strategy paid off, I'm going to have a go at Anna Kendrick's Twitter page to see if I can get that on. Yep.
Yeah, well, it's the girl from ABBA. She married her stalker in real life.
Did she?
Never give up, guys. That's a good lesson for you. Just don't take no for an answer and never give up.
And look, chemistry is another word in football sense or in sporting sense, that you're often referred to.
Yep.
And this could be chemistry today.
It could be. You can cut it with a knife, guys.
I could be like helium though, and you could be like every other element of the periodic table. We just don't mix.
Or you could be like LeBron James in college basketball, one and done.
Let's go for it.
All right, everybody. As you know, we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, SoundCloud, and all that stuff. Please like the video and share it, etc., etc. And we'll get to the show as quickly as we can. Just before we start, Grant, what have you been watching this week, sir?
Well, I've got a community announcement.
Go ahead.
We've got a lot of viewers out there, and many of our friends are dyslexic.
They are.
So this is a community announcement for the dyslexic community. You're watching All Sports Weekly. And it's not Small Shorts Weekly. So if you wanted to see a pair of small shorts, there you go. And just hang on for viewing pleasure. Continue watching the show, and hopefully you get a kick out of it.
I was reading about a dyslexia for cure the other day.
Really? Well, I know there's a lot of shows for your fan out there. But
What a start.
yes, I know.
You're a fire.
Boom tish. Look, I've been watching a bit of sport,
Yep.
but as your director or president of your official fan club and social
And
media
only
channels,
member,
well, that's correct. Look, but we respond to a lot of incoming mail, me and your mum. Okay, and we also monitor the show's customer insights and metrics and trends,
Okay.
and we
Right.
use particular KPIs. As you know, we officially call them the broadcast sentiment categories.
Oh, yeah, I'm all across this.
The BS and C, but we affectionately call them your back sack and crack stats.
He's on fire.
So would you like some feedback on your back sack and crack?
I would love some feedback.
To start with.
Yeah,
Okay, beautiful.
yeah.
So let me get some of this. There's only 5 items.
Okay.
And I realise you might be doing a best of montage in your last show coming up in a few weeks.
Yeah,
I'm not going to
that's the round table, mate.
steal any thunder.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
Yeah. That's the year in review.
Okay, so just looking at some graphs and some charts here about your back, sack and crack stats. Aaron reflects very positively on your back, sack and crack.
Does he?
He does.
He's actually got a stalker. Speaking of stalker, seems to be the theme. He has a someone who comments, "Where's Aaron?" every week. Have you across this one?
We have seen that through the channels.
Yeah.
We can do an IP address lookup and try and find that out.
What a
for Aaron.
sad bloody individual that must be. But Aaron, the two I see, love your work, Aaron.
Another thing that reflects in the metrics is that I've got to say I get a little giddy with excitement every time Matt's on.
Oh yeah.
But Matt, Gavin, and Jared, they actually attract a high amount of repeated YouTube views.
Yeah. Late
and
night.
Look, the repeated views on YouTube, it gives us a metric that we call the bankable on next episode rating.
Really?
Or boner. So the boner's pretty high on Matt, Gavin, and Jared.
Oh, isn't it?
Like whenever they come up, we all come away with a decent boner after they're on.
Yeah.
Even Justin got a huge boner this season. That's when his hair was short. So just
Justin?
Yeah.
I don't have a Justin. Do I?
Oh, maybe I need to go back on that.
No, you boner has
So
let you down.
who was the gentleman who he was on twice and he's had a haircut in between? I'll have to look it up. But
Yeah, okay.
I'm totally wrong.
I've lost my boner.
Okay, half chub maybe. But all those boner ratings, they reflect strongly on the ASW, Tinder, and Grindr sites as well. Look, with the highs come the lows though. Very quickly, I'll be fast here. During one particular episode, and you'll know this one straight away, we had to handle several language complaints.
Oh yes, that was the Macca fiasco.
Yeah, but look, I don't think it's what you assume. Here's one of the direct quotes we received. Michael looks like a little Mexican, so why isn't he speaking Spanish? And another complaint, pateo a mi perro, which I think means he kicked my dog in Spanish. But there are a few other language complaints.
Okay.
We've also just got a stat, a BSC stat for handling the dozens of letters we get from Brendan Brimacombe.
Yeah, it comes in, yeah. So let me in.
Indicating his availability.
Yeah.
We've got a special acronym for that as well.
I'm down the road.
That's correct.
Yeah, what's the acronym for that?
SPAN.
Right.
Yeah. And lastly, there's a special mention in our stats here for when the ASW headquarters receive a pie cost from one of your fans. That was a good time, that pie cost.
This is fascinating stuff. I really appreciate you going into the boffins that go into behind the scenes. These are the people that make All Sports Weekly work.
But back to sport. Look, I've been watching a little bit of everything. We had Spring Racing Carnival that I love. I got into the past few months. NFL, F1 overnight.
Yeah.
I know there was a bit of union.
Yeah.
But of course, I'm sure you'll get to the football and the cricket.
Yeah,
in this session.
There's a fair bit on. I had a bit of a win on the cup too, which was nice.
Oh, nice. Okay, very elegant.
Thank you. The horse was good too. All right, so let's start with a bit of football now. We've got Australia, and now they've had a 0-0 draw against Saudi Arabia on Thursday night in a pretty big game. Miserable conditions, absolutely teeming down with rain. It was one of those games where, honestly, we probably should have scored a couple of goals, and by the end of the game, we were probably lucky not to lose. I don't know if you caught this one, mate.
How good is it to have international sport back in Australia?
Big crowd.
23,000?
Yeah.
Yep. Western Sydney, which is almost like a home to the round ball game.
Good atmosphere there. As we mentioned, terrible conditions. Now, Saudi Arabia were the top team in this qualification. Everyone's played everybody once at this point. And with the World Cup, anyone who's got a bit of a memory knows it'd be very nice to qualify straight through. First and second get straight in.
Yep.
Because if you go to those dreaded playoffs, anything can happen. And Australia's got a few scars from those. Many World Cup heartbreak stories. For people who aren't rusted on football fans who watch that game, that casual person, it was probably disappointing because it was 0-0 and people who don't watch much football want to see some goals.
Yep.
And also, the Saudi Arabians carried on with a whole lot of diving and time wasting and stuff. And you know how that really rubs people the wrong way when you're not sort of someone who watches much football. Yeah. There's a couple of them, they got hit like that and they went down like they've been shot, that way. So Coach Graham Arnold had a bit of a sook after the game at the tactics, but that's, Saudi Arabia aren't going to care about that at all.
Can I just mention a point on that? And I'd probably refer to Wayne Seipel, who's been on the show, and he's more of a round ball fan and probably got some better advice there. But I never played football or soccer growing up. I find myself now that I'm conditioned to accept the time wasting. Yeah. And it's a terrible blight on the game if they've got fans out there that now aren't emotional at all when they see this kind of
they're conditioned to it.
Absolutely.
And it's creeping into the other codes, which is a whole other debate. But I'll tell you, there's some diving in AFL and NRL too, don't worry. Yeah, not as overt and obvious, but it is there.
But does the time elapsed for the injury, for the acting, does that get added to time on?
If there's trainers coming onto the field and so forth, there is an allowance. Obviously it's run by the referee, but it is a good way just to bleed those seconds off the clock and really just let your team have a breather and reset as well. Yep. It's not just the actual time. Yep. It's hey, let's all take a break, get a drink of water, set out a defence and start again and break the momentum.
Yeah, because there was, I think, only 1 minute in the first half and 3 minutes in the second half of time on added on.
Yeah, which means that the referee hasn't really allowed for that. It's probably bled into the actual game. But so anyway, look, philosophical, it's a draw. We're still second in the group. Mm-hmm. We're halfway through, and we're in Group B for this. Japan has beaten Vietnam 1-0. You would expect that. Vietnam are on the bottom of the table. And China and Oman have had a 1-1 draw. So what does that mean? There's two automatic qualifications, and it's Saudi Arabia, Australia, and Japan that look like the three teams going for that. We need to be careful. We need to keep picking up the points. We're on 10 points and Japan are on 9, and Japan are our big rival. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Saudi Arabia's kind of been a bit of a wild card. I think if you'd have asked people before this, Australia and Japan were the teams that people would have thought.
But is it a reflection now that Saudi Arabia, have you seen that their government has pumped in, I think, 1.5 billion into sports in their country?
A little bit of money there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Australia have a game against China. It's an away game on Wednesday. I tried pretty hard to find out where that game is. I can't tell you.
I can tell you it's not in Wuhan.
It's not in Wuhan. So a big game coming up this week for Australia. We should beat China. We need to beat China, and we'll see how we go.
And Matt Ryan still needs to be on fire. You can credit
Yep.
that point on for the game that we got the other night there for Matt Ryan.
Both keepers played well.
Yep.
Going to move on to a bit of cricket, mate, because cricket is on at the moment. We've got a T20 World Cup. I feel like Australians' interest in the tournament was here, but now that we've made the final, it's gone up here. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I'm a casual observer when it comes to cricket. It's almost un-Australian. But after, watching the semi-finals the other night and knowing that we've got the game Monday morning, is it?
Midnight, Sunday night, Monday morning.
Yeah, I'm kind of pumped for it.
Tonight, sorry.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
And look, you know what? It is against New Zealand, who I have to say has got the best national anthem for any sporting event. I love their national anthem, yes.
We'll talk about the final in a second. Now, let's just quickly touch on the semis. Now, the semis did not go to script. Going into them, England was expected to beat New Zealand and Pakistan was meant to beat us. That both did not occur.
Who did I tip in the first semi?
You tipped New Zealand. Who'd you tip in the second one?
Pakistan.
There you go.
Yes,
so,
okay.
What did Meatloaf say about 1 out of 2? He didn't. Now, listen, so look, with that first game, England got 166 and New Zealand were able to chase that down. Watch this one. There was this horrible over in the 17th over, a bowler called Chris Jordan, who 23 runs came from that over. It just turned momentum. The Kiwis, they've done it again. The gentlemen of the game, they're the quiet achievers. They punch above their weight. They're just not a bad word to say about them. And here they are in another big trophy final. They're a hell of a team.
That over by Jordan, and again, I'd probably refer to Anthony Lambrose and Lucas Osborne to get their insights on this. But one of the balls, even though it was an 8-ball over, one of the balls was a 6. And I think one of the fielders, like when he caught it Bairstow, I think his knee hit the padding and flicked it up and they caught it.
That was a 6, yeah.
So that's a matter of inches.
Oh, yeah.
So if he would have taken that ball, that catch and not hit the padding, then we would probably have a different result.
It's tight. And they've got a good bowling attack with Bolt and Southey. And Southey's swinging the ball, which you don't often get that. You're playing in Dubai with a white ball. You've got 4 overs. Swinging the ball is key. And Australia do not go well against swing, as we know.
And also Conway, who's the keeper and batsman, who did all right on the card on that game there. He, upon his dismissal, I think he punched his bat. Did you see that? And he broke his metacarpal.
Oh, did he?
In his hand. So he's out now. So I think New Zealand are pretty confident that they can cover him, but I think that's a big out.
That's a big out, yeah, okay. And the other game was amazing, Australia and Pakistan. I think the crowd was about 99% Pakistani fans. There was about 5 Aussies there. So the crowd, it was a hostile atmosphere for us. And Pakistan batted first and got 176, which is a hell of a score. Watching it after the first innings, I thought, well, we've just given them too many runs. We're not going to catch it. We dropped outfield catches. I know that Smith dropped one, Zampa dropped one, Warner dropped one. They were all difficult. But their chances, Babar Azam and all that, we need to take them. I'm thinking we're done.
And Rizwan also, he was in 2 nights in ICU, the 2 nights before the tournament.
Really?
So, I mean, and even Matty Hayden, who's the batting coach, he said he's an absolute warrior. But Pakistan were good. I mean, I'd tip them to a win.
And so with Pakistan getting that score, Australia come out and Finch gets a golden duck, and Afridi's left arm pace swinging the ball was like scary good, and that's bad English, but I don't care. And so Finch gets a golden duck, Marsh comes in and on his first ball is referred for a DRS for LBW, survives by the skin of his you-know-what. And I thought, we're done. If you had at that moment asked me what's Australia's chances, I would have said, not much.
I agree.
Then it all just turned around. Warner played really well.
Yes.
Marsh steadied the ship. And then finally, in a big game, Stoinis and Matty Wade did something for us. And Matty Wade turned out to be the hero in the end. Did you catch all this, mate?
Yeah, I did. Look, what about David Warner's dismissal?
Yes.
Now, I know that was a little bit controversial. And there was another item that David Warner did, but I'll just probably go back to his dismissal. I think he genuinely thought he got out. And he wanted to say
Warner wouldn't walk otherwise.
He wanted to say the review. There's only 1 review, I think, in these. Do they get 2? So, probably doing the unselfish thing. And it's great to see, again, being a casual observer, he scored a good score against West Indies, but they were West Indies. For him to get this now against Pakistan, I think it gives him some confidence in this game.
So, for those of you who missed it, he was caught behind on 49, and the umpire's given him out and he's walked. And then what am I trying to say? Ball tracking in the Hawkeye, he did not hit the ball. He actually missed it by some way.
Yep.
If he had have referred it, he wouldn't have been out. So I understand, but in a short innings where you've got 2 reviews, I think his importance to the team. I think he was well justified to do it. But he obviously thought he hit it.
Now, did you see his double bounce 6?
Yes.
That's coming up in Grant's gripe.
Okay. Spoiler. Okay. And look, I have to quickly talk about Steve Smith and Glenn Maxwell. Steve Smith, I'm convinced, isn't really a T20 player. He just looks out of place there. I like Steve Smith, but I just think he got out for 5 and he looked out of his depth. He doesn't like this format. Mm-hmm. And Maxwell, who just shows you something. He gets out when we need him, reverse sweeping, out for 4 or 5 runs. 7 runs, caught straight to the fielder, reverse sweeping. It's not what we needed. How long are we going to persist with Glenn Maxwell?
Well, the bowler who got them 2 out, as well as David Warner and a 4th wicket, Shadab Khan, brilliant bowler.
Yep.
He plays, I think, for the Brisbane Heat. I think he's listed for the Brisbane Heat. Is that right?
Yep.
4 for 26. And I mean, so, we're talking about Steve Smith and Glenn Maxwell, but I think more has to be said about the bowling from Pakistan as well.
And they missed a couple of catches at the end too.
Yeah, yes.
Time poor, but the final, are we going to win?
Despite my love of the New Zealand national anthem, I think Australia gets so much confidence out of these 2 games in a row, especially for David Warner, the lower order batsman. So my heart and head for once says Australia.
Yeah, I hope so. It'd be a big toss to win. The general consensus is if you're winning the toss in this tournament, you are batting second. If Southee can swing the ball, Australia will struggle, and New Zealand might just come along and beat us. It's just that kind of team. But I've got this feeling it's Australia's time.
Can they tie? What happens at a tie?
Super over.
Okay.
So there's no draw.
No draw. Okay.
So big game tonight, and looking forward to it, mate. Just quickly, time poor, but Queensland have been beaten in the Sheffield Shield by 7 wickets by Western Australia on a green top Gabba. One of the rare times at the Gabba where the team who won the toss bowled first, which that's generally not the way. Mm-hmm. But because of this weather we're having, the pitch is juicy green. Queensland's come in and got out for 129, and we were behind for the rest of the game. We've lost that game.
Okay.
But the only thing I will say, in a team that got 129, Khawaja got 70. And that was a pretty good 70 considering the ball was doing all sorts of stuff. I think the next highest scorer was like 10. So in a context of him trying to break into that Australian team, I reckon that 70 in those conditions was about as good as 100 on another day.
Did Khawaja have another comment for Ian Chappell at all? Did you see that?
No, but
okay.
Ian Chappell has got a lot of people who aren't real fond of him. And Travis Head got 14 in his match for South Australia, so he didn't do much to tell you that he should be the number 5. And there's a bit of a late mail that Mitch Marsh might play 5 in green 6, but we'll have that chat another one. It's all about that T20 tonight.
Okay.
Quickly, you're going to chat about rugby. Just 2 big games overnight. Ireland have beaten the All Blacks 29-20. Couldn't happen to a nicer bunch of you-know-whats. Big win for Ireland, great atmosphere. The TMO, the video ref if you want to call it, has dominated this game. Rugby, the officialdom is something, mate. It's like every time that there's anything happens, there's this forensic look at how can we not pay this try?
Right.
They spend a lot of time looking at every angle from everything, and it is interesting. But look, the best team has won in this game. But if you have a look at the highlights or watch the game itself, gee, there's a whole lot of officialdom to deal with.
And where does that come from? Does that come from the Northern Hemisphere? Is that how they play the
World
game or
rugby.
officiate up there?
They're obsessed with head knocks. They're obsessed with it. And there's no room for incidents. You know, we've been talking about it with the NRL this year too.
Okay.
Just that collision that's not really anyone's fault.
Right.
Anyone who's been watching rugby in the last year knows to get a yellow card or a red card is very easy. And in fact, I'd go so far as to say it's almost impossible to watch an international game of rugby and not see someone get sent to at least a yellow.
Okay.
Because the game is slowed down to an inch of its life by the officials, and it's like Australia, you know, are a little bit stiff against Scotland for that reason. Scored a try that was disallowed. All Blacks got a yellow card last night that was soft, and Ireland scored in that time. Ireland were the better team. And with England and Australia, England just too good for us, 32-15. Wallabies got 2 yellow cards in that game, and no one bats an eyelid. That's just rugby these days. You can't not.
So is the brand of rugby that Australia plays, or their players are playing in the Southern Hemisphere, is it rougher? It's hard
to muscle up.
Okay.
It's hard to muscle up, yeah. And That just seems to be the way of it. I don't know.
So we're going to see that in the super or the national competition down here. We're going to see that type of officialdom.
I think you are seeing it already, and it's even more so overseas.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a 60-second segment. I don't know what this is, guys. I'm handing over the reins to my guest here. What have you got?
Well, look, I think every episode you've had so far, you've had one hot minute. And I think everyone really watches this show to get your view or your opinion, or they want to get an insight into you, rather than just your back-sack and crap. So I thought
that's another channel I've got.
I thought I'd do 60 seconds with Shubba. So if we can do 60 seconds with Shubba, this might just be, again, a shambles. But we'll see how we go.
Okay.
On the clock, let's go. Who is your favourite sports identity?
Roger Federer.
In your view, is chess a sport?
It's a hobby. Like rock climbing.
What is your all-time best sports movie?
Major League.
Should the prize money for men and women be the same when competing at the same tournament event?
In a situation where, say, like use tennis.
Yes or no?
No.
Okay.
Well, you get paid what you generate.
Best pre-game warm-up song?
Haka.
Will we eventually see esports introduced at a future Olympic Games?
Let's hope not.
Oh, I hope so. Your favourite ASW moment?
Lucas's joke.
Hi, Lucas. Should Australian football codes continue to allow players to be traded mid-season and receive updog?
Yes.
Was the AFL correct to ban skin fold testing at draft combines?
No.
2 more. As we will see more and more transgender people compete in top-tier sports, should the sporting bodies have a need to categorise the men and women participants by their gender at birth?
Yes.
AFL, NRL, should rule changes for those codes be scheduled only every 4 to 5 years unless the change is intended for player safety?
Yeah, there's way too many.
Yeah.
Leave it alone. You look at soccer, there's been like one real change in 50 years.
Beautiful, mate. That's good. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Thank you.
No
Thank
worries.
you. It was good fun. Now we're going to quickly talk a little bit of trade talk. Okay. We haven't done this on the show before. As a rule, I don't sort of follow the off season too much, but there's a lot going on. Now, let's talk about my boy Ben Simmons. He has done a no-show for a game against Detroit. He's been fined $487,000 for this. Cheeky $500,000. And the 76ers are basically saying, we don't know what we can do to get him to show up.
Yep.
And he's been labelled by Charles Barkley this week, who's a prominent former player and media identity, a jerk through the week. Now, Simmons has 4 years to go and $200 million left to run, if you don't mind. The Boston Celtics are showing a little bit of interest in a trade for him, but it's a fire sale. They want him cheap.
Yep.
What would you do if you were the 76ers?
Well, the way the 76ers are going about it, then he will be cheap. The way my take, as for Charles Barkley, I think he's just trying to stay relevant.
Sure. Yeah, he's got a history of being a bit of a...
But the NBA, what other sport apart from EPL, the NBA is either second or equivalent to the EPL for running as a business.
Yeah.
So to tell me, what business do you know where the company has a product or asset and is willing to discredit or damage and thus lower the potential trade price?
Yeah, it's backfired on them because he's basically been petulant, and they've thought, we're not going to stand for this. We're going to stamp this down.
Yep.
And they probably figured he'd fall into line. But now he's not falling into line, and it's very public, and all the other teams are like, whoa, we don't want this.
Look, I'm not. There's no winners here,
No.
and I'm not taking away anything I'm not saying he hasn't done anything wrong.
He's not that good.
Look, I think what you've got to focus on,
He's a point guard that can't shoot.
Again, from my point of view, every time I read a negative article about Ben Simmons, Josh Giddey, get on him, OKC. I may be late to the party for this, but he is coming up. He's playing fantastically. He's learning to lose. I think there was so much pressure on Ben Simmons, and they put a spotlight on him when it was only like his first or second season.
Yeah, a lot of hype.
Josh Giddey doesn't have that spotlight on him, and I can see that he's going to be a future All-Star, future Australian boomer.
Hope so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now, NRL, with the trade season at the moment, the big sort of wild card is the Redcliffe Dolphins are coming in, obviously not next year, but the year after, and they've got a lot of cash to splash. Brandon Smith was up there schmoozing with them through the week.
Yep.
He's looking like one of their definite targets. It's open that Ponga is one of their targets. It looks like Munster's one of their targets. Wayne Bennett up there.
Yep.
They asked him straight up, are you intending to poach some of the Broncos? He said yes, just straight up.
I don't see who though. There's only a couple players.
There's
I
talk
think
of Flegler.
Yeah.
Is Katoni Staggs, how long's he been locked away for?
Well, I know that Patrick Carrigan and Herbie Farnworth are off contract at the end of 22. They're two of them that I think possibly he might want to attract across. But I can't see... They might be... There's good names on paper, but they just haven't performed in the past couple of seasons. So I think Wayne Bennett, he can't poach any of the Souths players. I think there's an understanding that he can't take any of those players.
He has made assurances to Souths. I'm going to leave you guys alone.
Yeah.
He has not made that assurance to the Brisbane Broncos.
Yeah, look...
Because he's just bitter.
There's a few other players that I think he might be interested in that are coming off contract to 2022. Valame Kikau, Angus Crichton, who probably won't leave the Roosters, Alex Twal from the Tigers.
Yep.
3 good forwards that probably finish up at the end of 2022. As for backs, I've got here like Dylan Edwards, Ben Hampton from the Cowboys, and maybe he might get a few Titans players, like Philip Sammy from the Titans has actually played a couple good seasons in a row.
Yeah, the Titans will be in his
so they might be in his crosshair for that Redcliffe team.
And Parramatta are having a shocker. So basically, we've got 3 players all managed by the same guys as San Ayub. We've got Junior Paulo, Clint Gutherson, and Reid Marnie, big players, all coming off contract. So Parramatta played hardball and said, you've got till the close of business on Friday to sign this deal or we're going to get rid of you. None of them signed it, and now we've backed down. So they've got the power in that relationship.
Yep.
And we've just signed Curtis Scott, the very troubled Canberra reject. And then in the last 24 hours, he's now been put on charges of stalking his former partner and looks like he could be facing some serious trouble with the police. And that deal might be done. And how good is rugby league?
Why do all these pain in the asses come from my beloved Canberra?
I don't know, man. There's nothing to do there.
Keenan Hipgrave, 24-year-old, one of your forwards, he actually had to retire, also announced this week. He suffered 3 concussions in the season just gone. And unfortunately, it's sad for him, another Parramatta player. So good luck this year.
Thanks, mate. Now in the NFL, the Rams have added 2 Hall of Famers in the last week in the form of Von Miller and Odell Beckham Jr. These are big signings to come into a team that's already one of the marquee teams. Sean McVay, the coach, he's got a strategy where he actually he gives up first-round picks for established players, and he has that feeling that they are more valuable.
Yep.
Time will tell if that's true. And Aaron Rodgers is playing this week. He's back from COVID, tested negative. He's put 3 pumpkin seeds behind his ear, smoked some Lang Lang oil, and barked at the moon. And Joe Rogan has said, "You're clear to play." How good?
How good?
Grant's gripe. What's your gripe, Grant?
I've got 2 quickly. I'm mindful of time.
Yep.
Look, Shubba ending the show. This is episode 37. He said he'll go to 40.
Yep.
I think we can conjure up a bit of noise on the social media channels.
Yep.
Maybe we can get some metrics and
It's all over.
get some boner for Shubba. But look, my gripe is there was a bit of controversy during the game, David Warner's double bounce 6.
Yep. I've
spoken to a few people that know far a lot more about cricket than I do, and a lot of them said it's okay. But I just want to mention...
It's a no ball.
It's spirit of the game. Okay, they said, it's against the spirit of the game.
Disagree.
Unwritten rules. Look, you have all these spirit of the game against, spirit of the game, unwritten rules, but they have plenty of sledging in cricket.
Yep.
I think in professional sport, you shouldn't have any unwritten rules. It should be just written in. I think NBA, I think the Major League Baseball have these unwritten rules. But come on, either outlaw the act entirely or allow it to play on.
Interesting. Yeah, I thought it was a no ball and fair game, but that's me. Grant's gripe. Time for 1 hot minute, mate.
Okay.
You ready?
Hit me with it.
Are there more steroids in the UFC or the WWE?
UFC.
Are Hawthorn a bottom 4 team next year?
Yeah.
Is Toby Green the best player in the AFL?
No. Far
Who
from
is?
it.
That's a little bonus question for you.
Next week.
On current form, is LeBron James the best player in the NBA?
No.
Who is?
Kyrie?
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Is Naomi Osaka or Serena Williams the biggest threat to Ash Barty in the Australian Open?
Yeah, Osaka, I think she's got more years in those legs of hers, I feel.
Yeah.
Williams, she's been great, but
Washed up, I think.
Yeah.
But if Osaka can get her head right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is Billy Slater the right choice for the Queensland Origin coach?
Yeah, bring on Billy. I think he's been there, done that, and I think they need a bit of new blood.
Thanks for coming on.
Cheers, Shubba.
Thanks for watching. See you next week.